After age 60, your brain loses approximately 0.5% of its volume every year. By age 75, the accumulated loss is significant, and the areas that deteriorate the most are the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, exactly the areas that control your memory and your ability to make decisions. You can't feel that. It doesn't hurt. There's no clear symptom until one day you can't remember where you left your keys. Another day you can't come up with the name of someone you've known for 30 years. Another day you walk into a room and don't know why you went. Those moments are not distractions. They are signals that your brain needs something you're not giving it. A study from the University of Oxford followed older adults for 2 years and found that certain specific nutrients reduced the speed of brain shrinkage by 53% compared to the placebo group, 53% slower, with nutrients obtained from food. Today, I'm going to show you 5 foods that research associates with protecting brain volume after age 60, the doses used by researchers, and a daily protocol. Number 1 is something you probably already have every morning, but that has a neuroprotective effect most people don't know about. I'm Dr. Cezar Villareal. I have treated patients with cognitive decline and memory concerns for more than 15 years of clinical practice. What I'm going to share today is backed by studies published in Neurology, the Journal of the American Academy of Neurology, and in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. These foods do not cure or prevent Alzheimer's. What science shows is that they may help create more favorable conditions for brain health. Always consult with your doctor. Before we dive in, I have a confession. We've all been there, but I want to know which one frustrates you the most. Is it that awkward moment when you completely forget the name of someone you know well? Or maybe your mind goes totally blank right in the middle of a sentence? Or are you the type who walks into a room and just stands there, wondering what you even went in for? Let me know which one happens to you more, and please tell me where you're tuning in from. I love reading your comments. It makes me feel so much closer to this community. And hey, if you care about staying sharp, make sure to subscribe. Next week, I'm revealing some common foods that might be rusting your brain without you even realizing it. Your brain weighs around 1.4 kilograms. It's 2% of your body weight, but it consumes 20% of all the energy you produce. It is by far the most demanding organ you have, and that demand makes it extraordinarily vulnerable to what you feed it. Your brain has approximately 86 billion neurons. Each one connects with thousands of others, forming a communication network with more connections than stars in the Milky Way. Those neurons are surrounded by membranes made largely of specific fats. Without the right fats, the membranes become rigid, communication between neurons slows down, signals get lost. After age 60, 3 things happen simultaneously in your brain. First, neuroinflammation intensifies. The brain's immune cells, called microglia, become excessively activated, and instead of protecting, they start damaging healthy neurons. Second, oxidative stress increases. Free radicals accumulate faster than your brain can neutralize them. Each free radical that isn't neutralized damages neuronal membranes, proteins, and DNA. Third, the production of key neurotransmitters like acetylcholine decreases. Acetylcholine is the molecule that enables the formation of new memories and the retrieval of existing ones. When it drops, memory becomes cloudy. These 3 processes accelerate the loss of brain volume, but they are not inevitable to the extent they occur. And what you eat can directly influence all 3. Let's go through the 5 foods, from number 5 to number 1. Number 5, the fuel your brain is desperately asking for, eggs. Your brain needs choline. Choline is the precursor to acetylcholine, the most important neurotransmitter for memory and learning. Without enough choline, your body can't produce acetylcholine properly. And without acetylcholine, forming new memories becomes difficult. Retrieving existing memories becomes slow. This is the biochemical basis of the forgetfulness you start noticing after age 60. And here's the problem. Most people over 60 don't consume enough choline. A study in the United States with 2,393 adults over 60 found that those with a choline intake between 187 and 399 milligrams per day showed significantly better cognitive performance on tests of verbal memory, fluency, processing speed, attention, and working memory compared to those who consumed less. And where is choline found in significant amounts? In eggs. One large egg contains approximately 147 milligrams of choline, concentrated mainly in the yolk. Two eggs give you nearly 300 milligrams, within the range that studies associate with cognitive benefit. A double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, published in Lipids in Health and Disease in 2023, evaluated 41 adults aged 60 to 80 without dementia. The group that received 300 milligrams of choline from egg yolk daily for 12 weeks showed significant improvements in verbal memory compared to the placebo group. Free choline levels in plasma rose, suggesting that the choline from eggs effectively reached the brain and acted as a precursor to acetylcholine. An even more recent study from the Rush Memory and Aging Project, published in 2024, found that people who consumed more than one egg per week had a significantly lower risk of developing Alzheimer's type dementia. Mediation analysis showed that approximately 39% of that protective effect was explained through dietary choline. Brain autopsies confirmed less accumulation of toxic proteins associated with Alzheimer's in those who regularly consumed eggs. Don Hector, 74 years old, had been avoiding eggs for 15 years out of fear of cholesterol. His previous doctor told him the yolks were dangerous, but Hector started noticing frequent forgetfulness that worried him. When I reviewed his diet, his choline intake was minimal. I explained the current evidence and we suggested incorporating 2 eggs daily, prepared, steamed, scrambled, or boiled. Within 8 weeks, he reported that the frequency of his forgetfulness had decreased noticeably. 15 years avoiding the food his brain needed most. Protocol: 2 eggs daily, yolk included. The yolk is where the choline is. You can prepare them anyway: boiled, scrambled, steamed, in an omelet. Avoid frying them in refined seed oils. Use extra virgin olive oil or a small amount of butter. If your doctor has restricted eggs for a specific reason, consult with them before making changes. That was number 5. But number 4 is a food that most people associate with gaining weight and actively avoid. And it turns out to be one of the best brain protectors that exists. Number 4, the fat your brain loves: avocado. Your brain is the fattiest organ in your body. Approximately 60% of its dry weight is fat. It needs fats to build and maintain the membranes of each of your 86 billion neurons. And not just any fat. It needs monounsaturated fats, exactly the type that predominates in avocado. But avocado has something that few foods have: lutein. Lutein is a carotenoid that selectively accumulates in the brain. Researchers at Tufts University discovered that higher levels of lutein in brain tissue correlated with better cognitive function in older adults. Lutein concentrates, especially in the hippocampus, exactly the area responsible for memory and learning. It's as if lutein had an assigned address inside your brain. It goes straight to the zone that needs it most. A study from the University of Illinois followed 60 adults aged 25 to 45 and found that those with higher lutein levels showed more efficient neural responses during attention and memory tasks. Their brains processed information with less effort, like a well-tuned engine that delivers more with less fuel. Avocado also provides potassium, which helps regulate blood pressure. And uncontrolled blood pressure is one of the main risk factors for cognitive decline after age 60. Chronic hypertension damages the small blood vessels in the brain, reducing blood flow and accelerating volume loss. Doña Estela, 68 years old, avoided avocado because she thought it would make her gain weight. She ate rice cakes as a snack instead of foods with fat. When I explained the importance of monounsaturated fats for her brain, she incorporated half an avocado daily at lunch. After 3 months, she reported that the brain fog she felt at 3 inches the afternoon, that feeling of her head filling with cotton had disappeared. She replaced an empty snack with a food her brain had been needing. Protocol: half an avocado daily. You can eat it on whole grain toast, in salads and smoothies, as a side dish, or simply with a pinch of salt and lemon. A medium avocado has approximately 320 calories, so adjust it within your total caloric intake. The fat in avocado keeps you full for hours, which naturally reduces the need for processed snacks. Two foods. But number three is the one that surprises my patients the most. Because it's a food most people consider a guilty pleasure, not medicine. Number three, the pleasure that protects dark chocolate. Not just any chocolate, not milk chocolate, not commercial bars full of sugar, dark chocolate with at least 85% cacao. The difference is enormous. Cacao contains flavanols, bioactive compounds that have a direct and measurable effect on cerebral blood flow. And cerebral blood flow is one of the most determining factors for the health of your neurons. More blood flow means more oxygen. More oxygen means more efficient neurons. More efficient neurons mean better memory, better attention, and better processing speed. A study published in Scientific Reports by the University of Birmingham directly measured cortical brain oxygenation before and after consuming cacao flavanols. The researchers found that flavanols significantly improve the oxygenation of the cerebral cortex and cognitive performance in healthy adults. The mechanism is clear. Flavanols increase the bioavailability of nitric oxide, which dilates the blood vessels of the brain and allows more blood to flow to the areas that need it. A controlled clinical trial with 90 older adults with mild cognitive impairment, published in Hypertension, the Journal of the American Heart Association, evaluated 3 different doses of cacao flavanols for 8 weeks. The group that consumed the high dose showed significant improvements in tests of executive function and processing speed compared to the low dose group. Blood pressure and insulin sensitivity also improved. 3 benefits with a single food. The flavanols from cacao penetrate the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in the hippocampus. It is one of the few dietary compounds that can directly access the area of the brain responsible for memory. And there, they activate signaling pathways that promote neuronal survival and the formation of new connections. Don Alberto, 72 years old, was diabetic and avoided everything sweet. When I told him about 85% dark chocolate, he was skeptical. I explained that 85% chocolate has very little sugar and that studies showed improvement in insulin sensitivity, not worsening. He incorporated 20 grams daily after lunch. At 6 weeks, he told me he felt his mind was clearer in the afternoons, the part of the day where he previously noticed the most mental fatigue. His blood sugar was not affected. His cardiologist approved the change. Protocol: 20 to 30 grams of dark chocolate with 85% cacao or higher daily. That equals 2 or 3 squares of a bar. The key is the percentage. It must be 85 or higher. 70% chocolate has significantly more sugar and fewer flavanols. Eat it after a meal, not on an empty stomach. And forget about commercial bars with milk, caramel, or filling. That is not medicine. That is confectionery. 3 foods. Are you already thinking about which of these you eat regularly? Keep your count. At the end, I'll ask for your number. Number 2 is a food we have used for thousands of years as a spice, but that science is now discovering as a neuronal protector. Number 2, the spice that protects neurons. Rosemary. Rosemary contains a compound called carnosic acid that has demonstrated neuroprotective properties in research from Kyoto University and other institutions. Carnosic acid activates a genetic pathway called NRF2, which is the master antioxidant defense system of your cells. When NRF2 is activated, your neurons produce their own protective enzymes that neutralize free radicals and reduce oxidative damage. Instead of giving the soldier a shield, you teach him to build his own armor. But what makes rosemary particularly interesting for the brain is its effect on 1,8-cineol, a terpene compound found in its aroma. Researchers at Northumbria University in England conducted a study where they exposed adults to the aroma of rosemary essential oil while they performed cognitive tests. Participants exposed to rosemary showed significant improvements in memory and processing speed compared to the control group. Blood analyses confirmed that 1,8-cineol had been absorbed into the bloodstream simply by inhaling it. The aroma of rosemary is not just pleasant, it is biologically active. In laboratory studies, carnosic acid from rosemary has demonstrated the ability to protect neurons against oxidative stress and the toxicity of certain compounds that damage brain cells. Researchers have observed that carnosic acid can help protect neurons from free radical damage in a selective way. It activates with greater potency when oxidative stress is high and remains in a dormant state when it isn't needed. It is an intelligent protector that responds to demand. Doña Margarita, 76 years old, had been growing rosemary in her garden and using it for cooking her whole life. When she started worrying about her memory, we suggested she increase its use deliberately. Fresh rosemary in all her proteins, rosemary infusions in the afternoon, even a small bunch of fresh rosemary on her bedside table. After 2 months, she reported feeling more alert in the mornings. We can't prove it was the rosemary because we also made other changes, but she is convinced her garden is taking care of her memory. Protocol: use fresh or dried rosemary generously in your daily cooking. Add it to meats, fish, roasted vegetables, soups, and stews. A sprig of fresh rosemary in hot water for 5 minutes makes an excellent aromatic infusion for the afternoon. If you have access to food-grade rosemary essential oil, 1 or 2 drops in a diffuser in your work or reading space can provide the aromatic compounds that studies associated with better cognitive performance. Rosemary is affordable, accessible, delicious, and safe for daily use in culinary amounts. 4 foods. And now, number 1, the most consumed food in the world after water. You probably have it every morning. And it has a neuroprotective effect that science is documenting with results that surprise even neurologists. Number 1, the protector of every morning, coffee. If you drink coffee, what I'm about to tell you will probably make your day. If you don't drink it, this might make you reconsider. Coffee is much more than caffeine. It contains more than 1,000 bioactive compounds, including polyphenols, chlorogenic acid, trigonylene, and caffeine itself. And the combination of these compounds creates a neuroprotective effect that none of them achieves on its own. A meta-analysis combining data from 48 longitudinal studies with more than 103,000 participants found that the intake of omega-3s and neuroprotective compounds like those in coffee was associated with approximately a 20% reduction in the risk of dementia and cognitive decline. Specifically for coffee, multiple population studies have found that moderate consumption of 3 to 5 cups daily is consistently associated with lower risk of cognitive decline and lower risk of Alzheimer's. How does it work? Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in your brain. Adenosine is a molecule that accumulates throughout the day and makes you feel sleepy. But adenosine also suppresses the release of neurotransmitters that improve cognition: dopamine, norepinephrine, and acetylcholine. When caffeine blocks the adenosine receptors, those neurotransmitters are released more freely. Your attention sharpens, your processing speed increases, your ability to form new memories temporarily improves. But the effect of coffee is not only acute. Researchers from the CAIDE study in Finland followed more than 1,400 people for 21 years and found that moderate coffee drinkers, 3 to 5 cups per day in middle age, had significantly lower risk of developing dementia in old age compared to those who drank fewer than 2 cups. The protective effect was independent of other lifestyle factors. The polyphenols in coffee also act as anti-inflammatory and antioxidant agents in the brain. They reduce the excessive activation of microglia, the brain's immune cells that, when out of control, damage healthy neurons. And trigonylene, another compound in coffee, has been associated in preliminary studies with protective effects on memory and neuronal function. Don Augusto, 71 years old, had given up coffee 5 years ago because he was told it was bad for his blood pressure. His blood pressure was controlled with medication, but his memory was worrying him more and more. When I showed him the evidence on coffee and neuroprotection, he consulted with his cardiologist, who gave him the green light to reintroduce 2 to 3 cups daily while monitoring his blood pressure. After 4 weeks, Augusto told me he felt like his brain had woken up from a 5-year nap. His wife confirmed he was more present in conversations, quicker at remembering names, and more engaged in family gatherings. His blood pressure was not significantly affected. But there are rules. Not all coffee is equal for the brain. Black coffee, without sugar, is the kind that provides the neuroprotective benefits documented in the studies. The moment you add 3 tablespoons of sugar, artificial creamer, and flavorings, you turn a neuroprotector into a sugar bomb that generates inflammation, exactly the opposite of what your brain needs. Why is it number one? Because it is the most accessible, most affordable, and easiest neuroprotective food to incorporate that exists. You don't need to learn new recipes. You don't need to buy it at specialty stores. You don't need to change anything in your routine except what you put inside the cup. You have it every morning. You just need to have it the right way. Protocol: 3 cups of coffee per day, preferably black, without sugar, or with minimal sweetener. The first with breakfast, the second mid-morning, the third after lunch. Avoid coffee after 2 inches the afternoon if it affects your sleep, because quality sleep is just as important for the brain as coffee. If you don't tolerate caffeine, decaffeinated coffee retains some of the protective polyphenols, although it doesn't have caffeine's effect on adenosine receptors. If you have uncontrolled hypertension, arrhythmias, or severe anxiety, consult with your doctor before increasing your coffee consumption. The complete map: how to integrate the 5 foods into your day. Breakfast: 2 eggs prepared in olive oil with fresh rosemary. First cup of black coffee. This breakfast gives you choline for acetylcholine, neuroprotective fats, carnosic acid, and the polyphenols of coffee. Your brain starts the day with complete fuel. Mid-morning, second cup of coffee. A handful of walnuts if you're hungry, which provide plant-based omega-3s for neuronal membranes. Lunch: half an avocado as part of your salad or as a side dish. Protein with rosemary. Your brain receives lutein, monounsaturated fats, and more carnosic acid. After lunch, 2 to 3 squares of 85% cacao dark chocolate. Third cup of coffee if you tolerate it. The flavonols from cacao improve cerebral blood flow right when afternoon fatigue begins. Dinner: use rosemary generously as a spice. Include a variety of vegetables. The combination matters. Eggs provide the raw material for acetylcholine. Avocado provides the fats for neuronal membranes. Chocolate opens the blood vessels of the brain so those nutrients can arrive. Rosemary activates the antioxidant defenses of the neurons. And coffee enhances the release of the neurotransmitters that everything above has helped produce. It is a team where each player has a specific function that complements the others. Let's recap. Number 5, eggs and their choline, which is the precursor to acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter of memory. Number 4, avocado and its lutein, which concentrates selectively in the hippocampus. Number 3, dark chocolate with its flavonols that measurably improve cerebral blood flow. Number 2, rosemary with its carnosic acid that activates the antioxidant defenses of your neurons. And number 1, coffee and its combination of more than 1,000 neuroprotective compounds that multiple studies associate with lower risk of cognitive decline. 5 foods, 5 ways to give your brain what it needs to slow down a loss that doesn't have to advance as fast as you think. Now, do your part. Write 2 things in the comments. First, how many of these 5 you already eat regularly? Just the number. I eat 2 of 5. I eat 4 of 5. Second, which of the 3 memory problems happens to you most? Forgetting names, losing words, or walking into a room without knowing why you went? I read every comment, and the answers that come up most often will determine the topic of an upcoming video. Your brain doesn't have to age as fast as you think. The loss of volume is real, but the speed at which it happens is partly in your hands, on your plate, in your cup of coffee. Consult with your doctor, especially if you already have a diagnosed cognitive decline or a family history of dementia. If you're wondering which foods might be accelerating the loss of brain volume, including one that most people consume every day thinking it's harmless, that's exactly what I reveal in the next video. Don't miss it. If this was helpful, share it with someone who is concerned about their memory. A shared video can give them the tools they were looking for. Take care of your brain. See you soon.